only one that you won't like. You got that?
Hey everyone, sorry about that little technical glitch, but it's Mike from Destinations to Travel coming to you live today from Universal Studios, Florida. We started panning over from the big iconic arches from the entrance of this park. I have noticed too, there's a medallion there. I don't know if you can read it in the video, but it is for the Paris 2024 Olympics, which of course are showing on NBC and Peacock. NBC Universal, the parent company of Universal Studios. And you can actually watch the Olympics on the big screens at the NBC Grill and Brew out on City Walk, which is really, really cool. Highly recommend if you haven't gotten a chance to head over there. It's really cool. Sometimes they'll show Sunday Night Football on there too. It's a lot of fun to watch a big event out on that. It's that giant screen. Hi, Lou. So, what we are really here for today is our annual, what has become an annual event now, preview of Halloween Horror Nights. So this morning, a lot of people were excited because we've got this big truss set up, which is where they keep the neon sign for Halloween Horror Nights. Believe it or not, we are only 4 weeks out from Halloween Horror Nights. So I know it's only August 1st, but the Halloween season begins here in Central Florida. So guests will be lined up right at those gates 4 weeks from tonight, looking up at this neon sign that says Halloween Horror Nights with scare actors filling the streets and fog, and I can't wait. So everything has been announced for Halloween Horror Nights, which officially kicks off August 30th. I think the 30th is the Friday, or is it 29th? It's that Friday. It's the last Friday in August. There is the premium Scream Night the night before. So for an additional fee, you could purchase a ticket for premium Scream Night. It is limited capacity and includes some food and drinks and things like that. It's a new event they are doing this year. We will not be at that premium Screen Night, but we will be at opening night. So we'll definitely be here to share some Halloween Horror Nights content. But today, since everything has been announced, we figured we'd take a walk around the park and show you guys what's coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year. We don't have specific locations just yet. There's one that we really know about because of the props and things. Well, two. There's two that we really know about because of the props and things that are out, and we'll talk about those when we come to them. But otherwise, I'm going to give kind of my best guess as to where everything might be for Halloween Horror Nights this year. So we'll start with one of the scare zones, that entryway up at the front there. And I haven't even really laid it out in my head as to what's going to be where, but I do have pictures to share with you guys. So let's see, what scare zone do we think is going to be right up at the front? My guess will probably be this. This is Duality of Fear. So there's going to be two sort of icons. They haven't really said that there's an icon for the entire event, but these two icons will be, I guess, I don't know if there are icons for, there's like basically two paths you can choose. It is either sinister or surreal. And so those will be the two paths you can choose in that scare zone, Duality of Fear. I would assume there would be like sort of a leader for each group, but we'll have to wait and see. And again, this is just my guess as to what's up at the front of the park there. There are 5 scare zones around the park. There's also going to be 10 haunted houses around the park, and we're kind of having to guess where they will all be. So let's talk about 2 of the haunted houses now, as we are up here at the front. Typically, this area is used for a queue for what would be one of the big the popular IP houses this year. And I'm thinking there's going to be two of them right up at the front of the park. It might be an original up here too, but let's go with a couple of guesses here. And one I think that for sure will be up here is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the new Ghostbusters movie that came out just a few months ago, really, right? Wasn't that long ago. So we'll be seeing that at Halloween Horror Nights. I was a big fan of the new movie. Personally, I liked Afterlife, the one that came before it, a little bit more. But this one I thought was still really good. Having the original Ghostbusters come back along with a really talented new cast was really cool. I liked it a lot. So another one that we might see up here. Let's see. Let's jump right into Quiet Place. I don't know if you could hear that. I tried to be quiet, but it's a quiet place. Um, so the iconic horror film franchise that has been going on for the past, what did the first one come out, like 4 years ago? 5 years ago? I don't know, something like that. But A Quiet Place Day One also came out this year, so clearly the franchise still has some gas right now. But this house will be based on the first two movies, so not Day One. This could be confusing because Day One is a prequel. It's not that movie that is included in this house. It is Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part Two that will be included. And again, I don't know specifically that this is where these houses will be. They won't be here. They won't be in a Minion Cafe, but they will be somewhere in the park, and two of the big popular houses will likely be right up here at the front. All right, so now we'll make our way past, and you can see they are showing the Olympics on these screens at the Music Plaza as well. This is really cool. I like the way they do this. There's a bunch of photo ops for the Olympics as well. And it looks like we got women's basketball on right now. Very cool. There's all sorts of backdrops on the stage. Like I said, you can watch some of the Olympics out on City Walk on the NBC Grill Brew screens, which are gigantic. Like they make these look really small. But it's a really cool experience to be watching the Olympics with a roller coaster going by behind it. Pretty fun. So we'll continue our tour here. There is a Coke food truck over here too. Actually, let's see what they have on the menu here. Taste of Paris. So it is for the Olympics. We've got a burger and some fries. Ooh, truffle hollandaise sauce. That sounds really good. Oh, I walked right away from the menu here. So let's head towards New York.
Get some water. That's scary. There's a big one.
So Halloween Horror Nights, by the way, again, kicks off the last Friday in August, whether that's the 29th or the 30th. I should have looked at a calendar. I'm not sure. But so it begins in August and runs through the last weekend or the weekend after Halloween. So it's like November 3rd and 4th, something like that. All right, as we enter New York here, a couple things we know. We know there's going to be a scare zone over in New York. Again, I have to kind of give you my best guess as to which one will be here in New York. But before I do that, we do know the tribute store will also be over here. So the tribute stores for the other seasons have been over in the Hollywood area. Right now, they still have the summer tribute store, which is like sort of a classic video rental store. That's the theme of it anyway. It's a rental store, an arcade, and a movie theater. But the Halloween Horror Night Tribute Store traditionally has been staying over here in New York. I think just because the space is bigger and allows for better crowd flow, and Halloween Horror Nights is very popular. So we'll see the Tribute Store open up. Actually, there's a pass holder preview for it on the Wednesday before Halloween Horror Nights, so we'll be out here to take a look at it then. And then there's a stage set up. There's always a stage in this scare zone. And again, we don't know what. Oh, there's also some string lights going across. So we're getting more props set up for Halloween Horror Nights. But let's see, which scare zone do we think will be over here in New York? let's go with if that's going to be Duality of Fear up in the front. This one might be Demon Queens, who are based off of the Duality of Fear scare zone. This is the Demon Queens. What's the word? I'm like support the surreal path. I mentioned the sinister and surreal paths being your options from Duality of Fear. They support surreal, so it's kind of weird. Like they have this story for Duality of Fear. It doesn't, at least as far as we know, just yet. It doesn't extend anywhere else besides this scare zone. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I'm interested. Demon Queen seems like a pretty cool concept. So we'll see what they do with this stage here. By the way, these signs, they are so simple and they never fail to get me excited. Nation's premier Halloween event. I highly recommend. Now I am. Oh, sorry. I've been missing comments because I'm looking at my own photos. Hi, Robbie. Hi, Jenny. I highly recommend. I know Halloween Horror Nights is not for everyone. And I'm going to go this way to avoid the music here. Halloween Horror Nights is definitely not for everyone. You know, some people aren't going to be into horror. That's just how it is. But if you're even remotely on the fence and think, oh, maybe I could enjoy some aspects of that, please try it out. Because I was never a horror fan. I'm still really not. I don't watch scary movies. But Halloween Horror Nights, it is absolutely my thing. It is. If you're a fan of theme parks and you're watching this, so I assume you are, you're going to have an appreciation on some level for Halloween Horror Nights. The best way I've heard Halloween Horror Nights described is you're in your favorite park here, Universal Studios Florida, and you've got 10 brand new attractions, 10 haunted houses to go explore. And the theming of these haunted houses is on par with all of the incredible attractions like Transformers or The Mummy or whatever your favorite attraction might be. The theming and the work that they put into these houses is right up there with these attractions. So it's really incredible to see. And then on top of the houses, you've got the scare zones and you've got a show. So there's some really, really awesome stuff. And again, you know, maybe you're not into being scared, you're not into the jump scares. I get that. But if you think that you might maybe be able to push through that, highly recommend it. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you try it out once, you're going to want to come back. I tried coming around the music, and I don't think I had that as an option. So we're going to have to just kind of push through here. We'll share some of these comments real quick as we do. Lou says, it's the best event ever created. And Lou, I 100% agree. Universal does some amazing events too. Like Mardi Gras is awesome. The holiday season here is fantastic, but Halloween Horror Nights is the event. And Jenny says, I agree with Mike. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. Was only going to go for my clients and had so much fun. See there, look at that. That's two points in one there. One, Jenny is willing to go to Halloween Horror Nights for her clients. So gives you an idea of what a destination travel advisor will do for you. But also, yeah, didn't think she was going to like it and had a great time. So again, try it out. If you're going to be here from the months of September through October, check out Halloween Horror Nights. Gina says, I so want to go there. Robbie says it's so scary. I will say there are some houses that are, so let me give you a quick guide to Halloween Horror Nights. So like I said, there's the 10 houses and there's the 5 scare zones. You don't have to do anything at Halloween Horror Nights that you don't want to do. You can come through, walk through. I mean, once all the paths and everything are open up, there's some construction going on right now, but can't imagine that'll still be there for Halloween Horror Nights. You can get through the park really without walking through anything. I don't know why you would, because it's kind of the point of being here, but you can make your way through the park without going into a haunted house. You don't have to do that. And you can really get through without going through the scare zones as well. So keep that in mind. If you feel like you need to escape the scary for a little bit, you can absolutely do that. So if you're on the fence about the scares of it all, just keep in mind, like you won't be overwhelmed by it, like constantly. You can escape it. That being said, you can also do all 10 haunted houses, walk through the 5 scare zones, and watch a show all in one night. So it's a really, really awesome experience. All right. And speaking of those 10 houses, we are at our next location here. And the Fast and Furious queue has been playing host to a haunted house over the last few years. Let's see. What do we think is going to be here? Let's just go with one of the originals. And I'm going to just pick this one because it was one of the, I think it was, oh no, it was the second one announced, but we'll go with this. Let's go with Goblin's Feast. I don't know how much I need to speak about this one. It sounds pretty self-explanatory, right? Goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, those sorts of monsters are feasting. And, what they feast on, I think you can probably assume. So there you go. If you're a fan of like fantasy and that sort of thing, this might be the house for you. And back to my point too about the variance in how scary the event is. There's always, let me rephrase. There's typically one house that is like the scary house. There's always, again, typically a couple of houses that are much less scary. Usually there's like a comedy focused house, and there will be one this year. Granted, now there's still going to be scares. There's still always going to be scare actors jumping out to try and scare you. But some houses are more intense than others. If you are unsure, if you're debating on whether or not you want to come, maybe wait a little bit in the event, and you'll get a sense for what is the more intense house. People will be talking about it. I will be talking about it on our live streams, so keep an eye on that. But yeah, you can definitely get different levels of scares throughout the event. All right, so we've got clearly our next scare zone here. Let me try and guess which one this is. Enter the Blumhouse. So if you're not familiar with Blumhouse, if you're not a big horror fan, they are a studio that has created a bunch of great horror movies. The Insidious franchise, the Sinister franchise, The Purge, what else? Megan. There's a bunch of horror franchises that have come from Blumhouse, and you'll see a lot of those characters right in this scare zone here. So they've done houses or scare zones like this before. These tend to be it's gonna be really cool because I like a lot of and let me take this down so you can see the props they've got out here. I love a lot of these franchises. Last year, you might have seen they had Megan out here doing a whole dance routine. I would guess we'll probably see that again. But some of the characters from these franchises are some of my favorites. Usually, though, these scare zones are one of the less scary ones. It's more of a showcase of like, hey, here's the movies we've got. And so you'll see the characters. They're still going to jump out and try and scare you. But when you see the characters up on a stage like this, and see what I just did there when I walked by, I actually was already peeking around the corner because that's typically like right here too. So you don't want to do this if you're afraid. See, it's a perfect spot right there too for someone to jump out. But yeah, typically you'll see them up on the stage. You'll see them coming. But then there are always going to be other ones that are hidden around the corners. So just, if you're trying to avoid those scares, just keep an eye out for that. Let's see. Oh, Lou says my 80-year-old mom wants to go again. That's awesome. Yeah, I have. My mom actually also is not a horror fan in any. Well, she has a little bit of an interest in it, but she doesn't like horror movies. And I got her to go a couple times, and she's enjoyed it. She's had a good time. So, yeah, it's sort of the theme, right? Like you don't think you're gonna like it, and then you do. Elizabeth, when does Halloween Horror Nights event start? So the last Friday in August. I don't know if can anyone tell me, is it the 30th or the 29th? Whatever that Friday is. So we're only 4 weeks away from the start of Halloween Horror Nights, which I can't believe. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for it. And then it runs through the weekend after Halloween. So it's like November 3rd, November 4th. So you got 2 full months and then some to enjoy Halloween Horror Nights here. All right, so we're going to continue through London here, and in the interest of time, we're not going to head into Diagon Alley today, but I will talk about as we make our way through London. Thank you, Lou. It is August 30th through November 3rd. Perfect. Um, so as we are making our way through London, I will let you know we are also going to see the return of the Death Eaters in Diagon Alley for Halloween Horror Nights. They've been here the last couple of years. It's awesome. The Death Eaters are my favorite character interactions you can have during, I was going to say during Halloween Horror Nights, but there are some, you get some really great character interactions during Halloween Horror Nights. But the Death Eaters are so much fun. You can definitely see plenty of video on our socials from past years, which speaking of our socials, let me take a second here and let me get that banner going. So if you're watching on Facebook or on our YouTube or on our Twitter, you can see our socials scrolling across the bottom of your screen, so you can follow us across all of our platforms. Sometimes we do these live streams on specific platforms instead of doing them across all of them. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube so you get notifications when we go live. That way you won't miss any of these fun streams. But again, yeah, the Death Eaters in Diagon Alley, they are awesome. They do a fun little like entrance show and then an exit show, and in between they kind of just wander and interact with guests. And it's really, really cool. All right, coming back to the Fear Factor stage, which I feel like needs to be renamed at this point. Fear Factor hasn't been here in a long time. Hi, Jack. So no sign up just yet. Oh, uh-oh, it is starting to rain right now. We are not supposed to get any rain right now. That's not great. So you don't see the sign up here just yet, but let me see if I can kind of put it up there for you. Let's see here. There we go. Nightmare Fuel Nocturnal Circus. So Nightmare Fuel has been the show for the last 4 years? 3? Maybe this is the 4th? I think this is the 4th. So it is hard to explain what this show is exactly. It is a, sort of a variety show. There's dance, there's pyro, there's magic, there's pyro, there's fire, if that's different from pyro, and then there's more pyro. There's a lot of pyro. So it's a really cool, fun show. It is not what you would expect to see in a theme park, but again, it's Halloween Horror Nights, so it's a little bit different. But it's really fun and very popular too. So the theater will get packed if you are coming. They do 5 shows a night, something like that, 4 shows maybe. So if you do want to come to one of those show times, make sure you get here a little bit early. Plan to get here like 15 minutes at least before the show, because on busier nights especially, the theater will fill up. I've done that show, like I said, this is the 4th year, I believe. But there are always variations to it. Like they've changed the story up a little bit. There's some different acts here and there. So even if you have come in the last few years and you've seen it, it's going to be a little bit different. But the music just got really loud over here. Weird. Pass by Men in Black Alien Attack. There's nothing for Halloween Horror Nights back here. So see, this is one of those areas I'm talking about. Like you can kind of get away from everything. Now you're still going to hear like the music of Halloween Horror Nights. But that's it. There's no scares or anything going on back here. I did, however, pass an entrance to a house. And then there's typically 2 more entrances to houses up here in the corner. So we'll stop here and we'll talk about 3 more houses. How many have we talked about so far? 3? 4? I think we've talked about 3, right? We talked about Ghostbusters, A Quiet Place, and Goblin's Feast. Let's see. What do we think will be back here? Let me get out of the way, make sure I'm not blocking anybody first. All right, let's see. What do we got back here? Let's talk about this one. I'm excited for this one. Museum Deadly Exhibit. So basically you are visiting a museum, and it is called, the exhibit, the new exhibit is called, I believe, The Rotting Stone. I hope I have that name right. And it unleashes an evil and everything goes wrong, as you might expect with Halloween Horror Nights. It sounds like a really cool concept. I love this idea. I'm excited to see this house. Now, what's interesting is you might be saying, like, well, where do the houses go back here? There's no buildings. This is just an empty lot behind these trees. They do two giant tents back there. And those houses might seem like, okay, so you got the houses up in the sound stages up in the front. If the house is being built in a tent, it can't really be that impressive, right? These two in the corner, for whatever reason, always end up being two of the more impressive houses. One of the intense houses is usually not, no pun intended, not not like it's in a tent, but it is one of the intense houses. Tends to be back here in this corner. So um, yeah, just keep that in mind. And again, I will share my thoughts on the 10 houses after we get a chance to do them. So keep an eye on our live streams and our socials. Um, but yeah, one of them tends to be back here. So we'll see. Maybe museum is going to be one of them. Let me answer a few questions before we jump back into the next house. Uh, Lou says, Lou says, bring back Bill and Ted. Yeah, so Bill and Ted was a show that used to be at the Fear Factor Theater. It was hilarious, fantastic. You can check out some of the old shows on YouTube. They're awesome. They're so good. But instead, we're gonna have Nightmare Fuel, which is also awesome. Do they have new drinks each year? Lou asked. Yes, they do. They'll have drinks and food all around the event. And we'll probably get some sort of like blog post from the Discover Universal blog in the coming weeks with all the menus and everything. That is another one of my favorite parts of the event is the food and the drink options. Universal as a whole has been doing a really awesome job with their food for events over the last, I feel like I've been saying this for a while now, but like over the last like 5 years, maybe probably. They do an awesome job. Their food, some of the names may sound pretty gross, but I promise you it's delicious. All right, let's jump back into the next house here. Let's talk about this one. How about Major Sweets Candy Factory? So if you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, you might remember a few years ago we had the Major Sweets Scare Zone, and the idea was Major Sweets runs a candy factory in a small town, but he's not such a nice guy. So his candy turns all the children evil, and they kill everybody. So we saw it in the Scare Zone. Now we're going to see it in a house. We're going to actually get to explore the candy factory, which sounds like a lot of fun. By the way, let me mention this too. As I mentioned, the Discover Universal blog, they also have a podcast where they tell the story of these original houses. So they've done one for Major Sweets. They just did one for Goblin's Feast. They've done one for, let's talk about this next house here too. This is Montrose, the Monsters of Latin America. They've done a podcast episode for that as well. And that was my favorite one for this season, actually. So this one is going to tell you all of the like urban legend monsters stories from Latin America. Sounds really cool. The podcast for it, I highly recommend listening to that to kind of get you hyped up. Definitely worked for me. This was lower on my list when all the houses were announced. This is definitely higher up now because of that podcast. So looking forward to that. You know what? As we are standing here, just because I don't know where any of the houses specifically are going to be, let's talk about another original. Kind of hard to read them on here, but let's do this one first. Triplets of Terror. Kind of hard to explain. I think it's the Barmy family is the name of them. They're inviting you in so that they can reenact their family's iconic murders. Probably doesn't sound ideal, like an invitation I would accept, but in this case, yeah, might be fun. So Triplets of Terror is another original house. And then last one, Slaughter Cinema 2. This was actually the first house that was announced this year. This was back at Spooky Empire, a horror convention that they do nearby. Slaughter Cinema 2, as you might expect from the name, is a sequel to one of the houses they actually did right back here in one of these tents. This is the comedy house. So Slaughter Cinema is based on original, so like not real B movies. So like the cheesy movies that you might see on cable at 2 a.m. that are, very low budget and kind of funny, but they don't mean to be funny. So that's what Slaughter Cinema follows. So like last time they did this, which was like 2018 was Slaughter Cinema, something like that. Excuse me. They did movies like Attack of the Swamp Yeti and like, what else was there? It was like Hell Dogs, which was a biker gang that turned into werewolves. So things like that you'll see in Slaughter Cinema 2, which I'm really excited for. That was one of my favorites a few years back. Really funny, really fun. Oh, another name of a movie just came to me. It was like Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell. So that kind of vibe, which makes for a really fun haunted house. And then it also sort of has the theme of either like an old movie theater or old rental store, kind of like the tribute store. All right, we're making our way through Springfield. There's not really much over here anymore for Halloween Horror Nights. They used to do roaming like chainsaws through Springfield. That has kind of changed. They've kind of been in a few different spots over recent years. However, I will say, if you are going to come to do Stay and Scream, and those of you who have been watching for years are probably sick of me providing this tip, but somebody might be new here. So if you're going to do Stay and Scream, which is an opportunity to get into the park before Halloween Horror Nights starts, let me back up actually. During Halloween Horror Nights, the park will close at 5 p.m. So if you can still be here during the day for normal park operations, but it'll close at 5 p.m. And at that moment, they will start to clear the park of anybody who's not going to be here for Halloween Horror Nights. So if you have a Halloween Horror Nights ticket, you can then go into one of several Stay and Scream sections. Usually there's one up in New York, here in Springfield, and then the last couple of years they've been doing San Francisco as another one. So you wait in the Stay and Scream section from 5 p.m. Halloween Horror Nights, I believe, officially starts at 6:30. But if you're doing Stay and Scream, you'll get out a little bit early, and you'll be let out into the park before normal guests get into the park. So if you are here for one day, and maybe if you don't have Express, it is a great way to take advantage of some shorter wait times and knock out a couple of houses before anybody else gets in. I recommend staying in Springfield because you have access to a couple of houses back here. New York typically gets you into whatever the big popular house is up in the front. So in past years, it's been like Stranger Things, The Shining, things like that. So you'll probably still have to wait for that one a little bit, but still get in there earlier than most guests. So, but I also choose Springfield because they have Dufftoberfest, which is maybe my favorite beer anywhere. Probably has some Horror Nights. Horror Nights probably weighs in on that decision a little bit, but yeah. So you can sit in Moe's with a Dufftoberfest and wait for Halloween Horror Nights to start, and that is like my favorite hour of any day. It's just waiting for Halloween Horror Nights to start, sitting there in Moe's. So, highly recommend doing that. All right. Do we only have one more house to talk about? We might have two. We have two more houses to talk about. And typically there are two more entrances back here. So I'm curious to know how they're going to do that this year. Actually, recent years there has only been one entrance back here, but we're just going to talk about the last two houses because we're not sure how they're going to lay things out just yet. So we'll stop right over here by DreamWorks Land, which again, DreamWorks Land is new. So I'm curious to see how things get laid out. And this seems like appropriate background music to talk about a haunted house. So let's jump into, what do we have next? How about Insidious, The Further. So I can't really speak to this one too much because the description is kind of just like they're putting you into the world of Insidious, the movies, the popular film franchise, which I think there's 4 or 5 movies. And I can't speak to this one too much, like I said, because I've never seen the movies. I typically don't watch horror movies, especially supernatural horror movies, unless I have to, which means unless it's announced for Halloween Horror Nights. So I might be watching these, or at least one of them this year. We will see. So Insidious, The Further. I think that's the 9th house. Let me take that down. It's the 9th house we talked about. There's one more. We're just going to throw it in right here as well. And this has been a staple of Halloween Horror Nights the last few years. And that is Universal Monsters. So this year, it is the Bride of Frankenstein teaming up with Van Helsing to take on the Brides of Dracula. So I do like this. I'm hoping the story kind of ties into the Dark Universe section of Epic Universe, which will be coming next year. But we have seen Universal Monsters in recent years. They've done a lot of Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, those sorts of things, the Wolfman. So I'm curious to see how this is going to be different from some of the other houses we've seen. This is the first mention of Van Helsing, so that's cool. But we'll see. The Universal Monsters houses they've been one of those like every year. You know, we're kind of like, oh, it's Universal Monsters again, okay. And then every year it's a great house. So, like, I can't remember one of them being like, oh, it was okay. No, they're always really like some of our favorites. So, all right, we have two more scare zones to talk about. Now we've talked about all 10 houses and we've talked about the show. So as we head over to Central Park, let me pull up this scare zone. And this one we know because of all the props that are out. So just like Blumhouse, this one's a little less obvious, but still pretty sure this is Swamp of the Undead. So we are going to be walking into the Louisiana bayous where all of the bodies that have been dumped there have come back to life and are now stalking you through the swamps. Fun little detail on this little dinghy here is the Orca. So the name of the boat from Jaws. So a lot of props up in this scare zone. It's a fun, interesting setup here with this stage. Curious to see how they do that. Let's see some sinking boats. They'll probably do a lot of like fog and lasers in this area. To kind of give it a water effect. It's a whole like tree house up here. This is one of my favorite areas for any of the scare zones just because of the way that the area is laid out. They usually do a cool job with the lighting, with the trees. And then because it is tight quarters, the scares work really well here. So remember, we were talking about different levels of scary for the various scare zones and houses. This one tends to be one of the scarier ones just because of the way that it is laid out.
Yeah.
And again, I expect to see a lot of fog. I mean, you always expect to see a lot of fog in Halloween Horror Nights, but this area specifically, I expect to see a lot of fog and lasers kind of create that effect that you're walking through water. Yeah. Lou says hanging pumpkins. Yeah, so the first 3 years, I think, that was coming to Halloween Horror Nights, the theme of the scare zone here was always either like classic Halloween or it was the movie Trick or Treat. And so they had all different jack-o'-lanterns lining the trees down here, and it was always really, really cool. One of my favorite sights of Halloween Horror Nights. And in fact, my wife, Jess, has a tattoo on her arm that was one of the pumpkins that was up in the trees. It's very obscure. It's not the one that everybody knows, Lil Boo. It is just a different pumpkin that was featured in the trees of Halloween Horror Nights. So, yeah, it's a fun little detail. I don't expect to see hanging pumpkins there this year, though, but Swamp of the Undead is probably the scare zone I am most looking forward to. I think the theme sounds really cool. I'm really interested in to see what the duality of fate or duality of fear ends up being and what kind of story they tell with that. But Swamp of the Undead sounds like easy, and then with the location they're working with too, I think it's a great idea for a scare zone. So I'm excited for that one. And then that's one more scare zone. That's it to talk about. And so right over here in Hollywood, they will have one more. And let me pull up our final image. And again, I am just guessing as to the locations of things, but Torture Fair, my guess is that this will be here in Hollywood. And the theme of this one is medieval torture. So you're just going to see a bunch of people being tortured in terrible, horrible ways from medieval times. And I don't mean they're being tortured by having to sit through a dinner show at medieval times. I mean actual physical torture. So that one is probably the one I'm least excited about just because I don't typically go for like the gory side of horror. And if you are like that, if you're not into gore, you don't really have to worry about it. Like, yes, there is gore at Halloween Horror Nights, but it's not over the top. It's it's very clearly fake. So they don't try to really like gross you out, unless you're very easily grossed out. Then in which case, then yeah, you might be. But I'm one who does not like gore at all, and I don't know. Horror Nights has never bothered me on that front. So, I do want to point out too that the summer tribute store is still open, and from what I've heard, it might be open for a little while still. Oh, and actually, let me back up because there's some new merch in here. You know what? Let's just take a walk through. Take a walk through the new tribute store here, or the summer tribute store, which has been open for a little while now. Hi, Steven. So from what I heard, this might be open for a little while still. So typically they do the seasonal tribute stores. We'll have the Horror Nights tribute store built, and then the summer one would close. This might linger a little bit. It's been very popular, so we might see it stay open for a little while. So the store introduced this character, Mr. Tape, and the Universal community liked him so much that they decided to make T-shirts. If it's not rewound, you won't be found. There's a simple Mr. Tape T-shirt, nothing on the back. It is $27. Well, it actually even says Tribute Store Plaza on it. Pretty great. These have been here for a little while. These are the Mr. Tape socks. And here's the sign that shirt is based off of. Now, we did a full video through the tribute store previously, but we'll just take a quick walk through. They have been updating the merchandise. We'll find a lot of merchandise based on Ghostbusters, which we saw in the first room here, and E.T., and Back to the Future, and Shrek, and Jaws. Let's see if this is still... Yep. Still telling us to get out. So we got Jaws here. Haven't seen any new Jaws merchandise since the store opened, unfortunately. Jaws is one of my favorite movies. They do have some cool stuff here, though. Like this water bottle. Like the tank. I can't wait to see the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store. These tribute stores are always amazing, and the Horror Nights is always really impressive. We got Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Then we go into some ET merch. So let's head into the arcade. Oh, good question from Lou. What year was your first year for Halloween Horror Nights? I assume you're talking about Halloween Horror Nights. My first year was not actually until 2017. I followed Halloween Horror Nights from 2011, but I was living in New Jersey at the time, so I was never able. We always, as a family, would take summer vacations, so we never actually got to come down during Halloween Horror Nights. And so I was following the event from 2011. I think it was 2011, the first year that they had Lady Luck. So that was the year I was following Halloween Horror Nights, and fell in love with the story that they tell with all their original characters and everything. And so when we moved here in 2017, I was like, we're going every single year from now on. And that has been the case. All right, the final room here, which is the movie theater. We're gonna find more E.T., Ghostbusters, Jaws, and Back to the Future. A new Ghostbusters merch in here. Doing the full costume. Oh, I like this blanket. This is cool. Got the Ecto-1 on there. Stay Puft. Stay Puft. It's nice. How much is this blanket? It is $70, and it is like a quilted, like, nice throw blanket. A nice hoodie here. We got the same design on a mug. There's a Ghostbusters sign. And of course, you got the icon sort of photo op here for E.T., Back to the Future, Jaws, and Ghostbusters. It's one of the most impressive tribute stores they've done, and they've done some really impressive tribute stores. Let's take a walk over to the into the Five and Dime as well. Now we'll check out some of the new Halloween Horror Nights merch that they've released in here, which they've been every time they announce a house, they drop some merchandise for it. So I think the last house we had announced, actually the last one was Universal Monsters, but the last IP house was Insidious. We've got a scented candle, got a T-shirt. You can see here's the Ghostbusters merch here. Let me see. I got to know, what does the further smell like? Kind of smells pretty nice, actually. Kind of like a cologne kind of scent. I did see there's a lot of Creature from the Black Lagoon merchandise here too, and I love this T-shirt. Just a simple, soft cotton T-shirt is $30. Oh, there's some thunder in the area. That's not ideal. And then a whole bunch more Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's like a jersey here. Some shorts to match, and there's like a sign, an aluminum sign. Pretty cool. Creature is one of my favorite monsters. I would say him and Invisible Man, my two favorites. It's pretty cool to see some new Creature merch. So yeah, that's, whoa. I don't think I caught that on the video, but there was lightning not too far away, although I haven't heard the thunder yet, so let's see. There you go. That's not great. I was hoping for some nice weather for today, hoping to see the parade. I definitely won't be going with lightning like that in the area. But that doesn't go until 6 p.m. anyway, so we got time for the storm to pass. We'll see. But yeah, we have done a walk around the entire park, talked about everything coming to Halloween Horror Nights, 5 scare zones, 10 haunted houses, and 1 incredible show. What are you guys looking forward to the most of Halloween Horror Nights? If you're going to Halloween Horror Nights this year, excuse me, what are you looking forward to the most? Is there a house you're most excited for? Is there a scare zone you're looking forward to? Let me know. What do you think? Got a couple minutes here before we wrap things up. I think as far as houses are concerned, I think I'm most looking forward to A Quiet Place. And it's funny because I didn't watch A Quiet Place until after they announced the house. Lou, simple answer, all of it. Yeah, that honestly, that is it though. It's really just about having this event to look forward to and to come out to. And it really becomes such a community. Like I didn't expect it to. Being an outsider, you're like, it's Halloween Horror Nights. Like it's haunted houses, it's whatever. But it really is like a lot of fans like talking, becoming friends, things like that. So it is really cool in that way. So yeah, I'm with you, Lou. I'm looking forward to all of it. We've actually made friends with scare actors. Like we have come so frequently that we've gotten to know the scare actors in their specific locations, and they've come over and talked to us, and it's been really cool. So it's a fun experience in a lot of different ways. Actually, I did want to, before we wrap things, I'm going to pop into the Universal Studios store because this is how you really know that it's close, is when you start to see Halloween Horror Nights merchandise in the Universal Studios store, like right here. And that's Lil Boo, the pumpkin I was talking about earlier. Yeah, Lou says I used to post videos on YouTube, and the scare actors would ask for video of them. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of great photos of scare actors and shared it with them. It's really cool. It is, and the scare actors are amazing. They take a lot of pride in their roles. So they, Robbie says that's not scary at all. Talking about Lil Boo. And you're right, Lil Boo is not scary. He is the one who is scared. Um, but yeah, the scare actors do an amazing job here. I'm always blown away by the casting job that they do here at Universal. Like the way that they find people that can fit these roles is unbelievable. And then they do such an amazing job of playing those roles. So can't say enough about how great the scare actors here are during Halloween Horror Nights. Okay, so Lou is looking forward to all of it. Robbie is looking forward to Lil Boo. Got it. That's what everyone's looking forward to most for Halloween Horror Nights. And yeah, I'm with you, Lou. I'm looking forward to all of it. I can't wait for the event. Again, House, I would say not The Last of Us, A Quiet Place. Last of Us was last year and was an amazing house. A Quiet Place is probably the house I'm looking forward to the most. Slaughter Cinema also because the first one was so good. Scare Zone, I'm looking forward to Swamp of the Undead. Sounds like an awesome concept, and that's my favorite area for a Scare Zone. So, yeah, really, really looking forward to it. Again, August 30th, right? Did I get that right this time? The Friday? August 30th to November 3rd, Halloween Horror Nights will be running. So, it'll be... sorry about that. So yeah, August 30th, November 3rd. We are only 4 weeks away from the start of Halloween Horror Nights, so we're almost there. And if you would like to get there, we can do that for you. You can head to d2travel.com or send us an email at info@d2travel.com. We can start planning your Halloween Horror Nights trip today. And if you're not into Halloween Horror Nights, by the way, I'll say one more time, Universal Orlando in general, highly recommend. Oops, sorry. One of my favorite places in the world. You can absolutely enjoy all year round. And right after Halloween Horror Nights, we pretty much go right into the holiday season. So we can get you there too. So again, d2travel.com or send us an email at info@d2travel.com. And that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys so much for joining me for a walk around Universal to talk about Halloween Horror Nights, which you know is my favorite thing in the world. We will be back next week with some more fun as we approach the spooky season and share all of everything it has to offer. I'm going to go hide from this rain that is inevitably coming because that thunder has been nonstop. So thanks again, you guys. Again, we do these live streams across our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. You see all of our socials scrolling across the bottom of your screen there. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you real soon. Bye, everyone.